Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to be tackling something that's a bit of a geopolitical puzzle and definitely relevant for any UPSC aspirant listening out
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
We're diving deep into the India-Bangladesh border.
Okay.
All those, was it 4,096.7 kilometers?
Wow, yeah.
Where, let's just say, drawing a line on a map doesn't quite solve everything.
Right.
And we've got some great sources today from the Indian Express, the Times of India, and some insights from the Ministry of External Affairs.
Great.
So get ready to sharpen those analytical skills.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This isn't just about geography. We're
Yeah.
talking about a border that cuts through villages, rivers, enclaves even.
Wow.
It's a border with history, with people's lives woven into its very fabric.
And recently things have been heating up,
Yeah.
especially around the fencing that India's been constructing.
Right.
I mean, picture of this.
Okay.
Bangladesh actually summoned India's high commissioner over what they see as BSF violations. And the BGB even tried to stop fence construction in Malta.
You've really hit on a core issue here, the fencing itself. It
Yeah.
seems simple enough, but it gets complicated fast.
I bet.
The Indian Express has been covering this extensively, and
Yeah.
it's clear that this isn't a new dispute. This border has been a point of contention for decades.
Right.
And that fence, well, it's become a symbol of the tension.
Okay, so I'm already seeing how this ties into international relations for the mains exam.
Absolutely.
But why is a fence causing such a diplomatic uproar? It can't just be about keeping cows from wandering across the border, right?
Definitely not. It goes back to a 1975 agreement,
Oh, okay.
which prohibited any defense structure within 150 yards of the border. Sounds straightforward, except...
Except India and Bangladesh have very different ideas of what defense structure actually means.
Exactly.
I was reading about this in the Times of India, and it's almost comical how the interpretations clash.
Precisely.
Yeah.
India maintains that a single-row fence is mainly for things like preventing crime or controlling animal movement,
Right.
not for actual defense. They're
Yeah.
saying it's not like building a bunker, right?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But Bangladesh sees it differently.
Yeah.
Any fence within that 150-yard zone is a no-go.
Right.
And to make things even more interesting, there are exceptions. The Times of India highlighted this incredible example.
Okay.
The Dahagram Angarpota Enclave.
Wow.
Imagine this.
Okay.
A piece of Bangladesh completely surrounded by India.
Wow.
The fencing there is right on the zero line.
That enclave is such a powerful illustration of how complex this border is,
Yeah.
not just in terms of the physical geography, but the human element as well.
Yeah.
You have people living with this unique situation every day.
Right.
And any decision about the border impacts their lives directly.
It makes you think, what would it be like to live in a place like that, surrounded by another country?
Right.
I bet that could be an essay question right there.
Right. It definitely could. This is where we see those UPSC themes emerging.
Yeah.
International borders, historical agreements, and the delicate balance between security and the needs of the people living on the border.
Right. And it's not just about the physical fence itself.
Right.
The Indian Express mentioned that India's been implementing smart fencing
Yeah.
with all this high-tech surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
That's bound to raise eyebrows in Bangladesh.
Absolutely. It raises questions about privacy, about who's watching whom.
Right.
It's understandable that Bangladesh would be concerned, especially given the history of this border.
But then you have the Ministry of External Affairs reports
Okay.
showing that a huge chunk of cross-border crime, something like 60%,
Wow.
happens in areas without the fence. It's like a security catch-22.
It's a classic dilemma.
Yeah.
How do you balance security needs with the concerns and freedoms of the people living on the border?
Right.
And it's not just an India-Bangladesh issue. This is something countries all over the world grapple with.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this goes beyond just memorizing facts for the UPSC exams.
Absolutely.
This is about analyzing different perspectives, understanding the complexities of these issues.
Exactly. And the complexities don't stop there.
Right.
The Indian Express also touched on the practical challenges of building this fence.
Mm.
Difficult terrain, rivers, even objections from villagers on both sides.
Yeah.
Who rely on being able to cross the border.
It's like every solution creates a new set of challenges.
Right.
It makes you realize that border management isn't just about physical barriers.
Right.
It's about people,
Yeah.
about livelihoods, about history.
That's such a crucial insight for UPSC aspirants. This issue goes way beyond just geography or international law. It
Yeah.
touches on economics, sociology, even ethics.
It's almost like this one border issue is a microcosm of all the challenges facing the world today.
Right.
Security,
Yeah.
development,
Yeah.
cooperation.
It really is, and it's a reminder that in the UPSC exams, it's not enough to just know the facts. You need to be able to connect the dots,
Right.
see the bigger picture.
Speaking of connecting the dots,
Yeah.
I remember reading in the Times of India about how this border dispute has impacted everyday life for people in these border communities. Can we dive into that a bit more?
Absolutely. One of the key points raised is that the fencing, regardless of its intent, has restricted movement for people who've traditionally relied on crossing the border
Right.
for things like trade,
Yeah.
family visits, even grazing their livestock.
It's almost like this fence has become a physical manifestation of a much deeper divide.
That's a great way to put it.
No.
And it raises questions about whether this kind of security measure actually exacerbates tensions in the long run.
Yeah.
The Indian Express even quoted some local villagers
Right.
who feel like they're being treated as suspects in their own land.
So where do we go from here? Is there a way to reconcile these competing needs for security and cooperation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that UPSC examiners love to explore. It requires thinking outside the box, looking beyond the immediate crisis.
Okay, so let's put on our solution-oriented hats.
Yeah, okay.
What are some potential approaches that could address this border issue in a more sustainable way?
Well, one approach could be to focus on strengthening diplomatic channels, clear communication, regular dialogue.
Right.
These are crucial for building trust and finding common ground.
I'm also thinking about what you mentioned earlier, the historical agreements.
Yeah.
Maybe revisiting those agreements, finding a way to reinterpret them in a way that addresses both countries' concerns
Right.
could be a starting point.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the people living on the border, involving them in the decision-making process, finding ways to mitigate the negative impacts of the fencing.
Yeah.
That's essential for any long-term solution.
It strikes me that this border issue is a powerful case study for UPSC aspirants. It's not just about rote memorization. It's about understanding the nuances, the competing interests, the human stories behind the headlines.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that there are rarely easy answers in international relations.
Right.
It's about navigating complexities, finding compromises, and always remembering the human cost of these decisions.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the India-Bangladesh border tensions.
It's been a fascinating discussion.
For our UPSC aspirants, remember to check out the original articles in the Indian Express and the Times of India.
Yeah, great sources.
There's a wealth of information there to help you deepen your understanding.
Absolutely.
And for everyone listening, don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations of these crucial topics. We're all about making knowledge accessible, engaging, and maybe even a little bit fun.
Definitely.
So until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.